The story kicks off with Chris, who has just walked out of prison after serving a grueling 18-year sentence. But freedom comes with a price, and his first priority is seeing his daughter. However, the shady driver hired to smuggle him across the border decides to try and roll him instead. Where's the money? The driver has backup. Clearly, this isn't their first rodeo. After the dust settles, Chris fishes the keys out of the driver's pocket and scores himself a getaway car. He makes his way to the city where his daughter lives and stakes out a luxury villa. But what Chris is about to do next will change everything. Before long, a car carrying Alisa, the daughter of local mob boss Vincent, pulls out of the driveway. Chris tails them quietly all the way into the city. While waiting at a red light, he spots a homeless man squeegeeing windshields for spare change, and a plan clicks into place. At the next intersection, he disguises himself as a drifter and approaches the target vehicle, scrubbing the glass with practiced indifference. The bodyguards inside wave him off, but Chris ignores them, finishing the job and tapping on the glass for payment. When they refuse to pay up, he casually smashes their side view mirror. The guards storm out of the car to settle the score. Alisa seizes the chaos to jump out and bolt. After neutralizing the guards, Chris commandeers their vehicle, chases her down, and cuts her off. Panicked, Alisa tries to run the other way, but Chris grabs her, tosses her into the trunk, and peels out a split second before the bodyguards can catch up. Back at the mansion, Vincent is livid. He can't wrap his head around who would have the suicidal balls to kidnap his daughter. But it's the bodyguard's vague, pathetic description of the kidnapper that really sends him over the edge. They couldn't even remember the guy's face. Vincent puts out the word to the underworld, a $2 million bounty for any lead on his daughter's whereabouts. Meanwhile, Chris is trying to get Alisa out of the city as fast as possible. But Alisa isn't making it easy. She's in the trunk, making a hell of a racket, kicking and screaming. Fed up, Chris pulls over to give her a piece of his mind. A chase ensues, leading them deep into the heart of a forest. Chris tries to de-escalate, telling her he doesn't mean her any harm. He just needs to talk. To prove he's not just some random psycho, he pulls out an old photo of himself standing with Alisa's parents. Alisa is stunned. She can't wrap her head around why a friend of the family would snatch her like this. Chris tells her he had no choice. Your mother, she sent me here to come get you. My mother has been dead for 5 years. I know. Chris replies solemnly. She made me promise if anything ever happened to her, I would find you. But words aren't enough to drop her guard. In a desperate move to show his sincerity, Chris hands her his own weapon. It's a huge gamble and Alisa doesn't even believe the damn thing is loaded. Hey, you believe me now? They get back in the car, but the vibe shifts instantly. Alisa suddenly demands that Chris pull a U-turn and take her back home. At gunpoint, Chris doesn't budge. He doesn't think the girl has it in her to pull the trigger. What the hell? But luckily, the chamber is empty. What's wrong with you? And right then, the low-fuel light starts blinking on the dash. Chris slams the steering wheel in pure unadulterated frustration. While Chris is preoccupied refilling the tank, Alisa spots a group of people repairing a car nearby. Seizing the moment, she bolts from the car, screaming for help at the top of her lungs. Chris lunges after her, but is immediately intercepted and surrounded by the hostile crowd. Alisa scrambles to a pay phone, desperate to alert her father. But just as Vincent starts to ask for her location, Chris cuts the call short and shoves her back into the car to keep her from pulling another stunt. He binds her hands. The tension is at a breaking point, and when Chris threatens to toss her back in the trunk if she doesn't pipe down. Who are you to tell me what to do, father? I'm your father. Alisa freezes in shock. Chris reveals the truth. He is her biological father. And this revelation is just the beginning of a dark truth that will shatter everything she believes. While she struggles to process the revelation, she realizes that despite her constant acting out, Chris hasn't laid a finger on her. Maybe, just maybe, he's telling the truth. They stop at a diner, and for the first time, Alisa goes along without a fight. Meanwhile, Vincent is a nervous wreck. He knows his daughter is alive, but he has zero leads on her location. Little does he know, the threat is coming from inside the house. His own assistant has secretly leaked the news of Alisa's disappearance to a ruthless hitman named Corvo. Years ago, Vincent was responsible for an incident that left Corvo severely injured and missing an arm. Since then, the two have been mortal enemies. The assistant's plan is a cold-blooded power move. He wants Corvo to intercept Alisa and use her to draw Vincent out and execute him. With Vincent out of the way, the assistant will have a clear path to take over the syndicate. It's a calculated lethal betrayal. Over dinner, Alisa looks Chris in the eye and asks the question that's been burning in her mind. If you're really my father, where the hell have you been all these years? Chris hesitates, the weight of the past visible on his face before finally admitting he's been in prison. When she pushes for the reason, he stays silent, his gaze shifting to the diamond necklace around her neck, a gift he gave her mother for her birthday a lifetime ago. As they talk about her mother, grief washes over Alisa. She tells him she never understood why her mother took her own life, but Chris drops a bombshell. She didn't kill herself. He tells her that Vincent likely had her murdered. The accusation sets Alisa off. She thinks Chris is playing mind games, refusing to believe the man who raised her could be a monster. But the argument is cut short by the ominous click of a gun being cocked. A gang of thugs driven by the $2 million bounty storms the diner. Their objective is simple: execute Chris and bag the girl. While Chris is pinned down by the heavies, Alisa is dragged out the door. To make sure Chris can't follow, the thugs blow out his tires before peeling away. By the time Chris breaks free and staggers outside, the tail lights are already fading into the distance. Where are they taking her? Don't tell me where they're taking her. I'm going to bash your head in. The thugs deliver Alisa to a small-time mob captain named Bona, collecting a massive payday for their trouble. Once they're gone, Bona calls Vincent to give him the good news. He hands the phone to Alisa. Vincent is frantic, telling her to stay put and that he's coming for her immediately. But Alisa doesn't sound relieved. Instead, she asks him point-blank if he had anything to do with her mother's death. The question hits Vincent like a freight train, leaving him momentarily speechless. After a beat, he denies everything, claiming he did everything he could for Anna and that her suicide remains a mystery to him. He says that he's my real father. Meanwhile, after checking the security feeds, Bona realizes someone is systematically butchering his men. Desperate to protect his $2 million prize, he shoves Alisa into a hiding spot. The intruder is none other than the psychopathic Corvo. Though he's down an arm, his lethality has only intensified. He moves through the building like a whirlwind of blades, carving through guards with zero hesitation and even less mercy. Terrified by Corvo's brutality, Bona retreats to his office to call for backup, only to be knocked unconscious by Alisa. Outside, Bona's crew has been decimated. Alisa grabs Bona's gun, hoping to take Corvo by surprise, but he senses her presence. Just as Corvo lunges for her, he's intercepted by Chris, who has finally caught up. There are no words, only violence as the two titans collide. Sensing an opening, Alisa bolts for the roof only to find herself trapped with nowhere to go. Corvo corners her, and for a second it looks like a dead end, but in a flash, Chris charges out, tackling Corvo through a glass window. The two of them plummet. Before they can even catch their breath, Bona opens fire with a high-capacity weapon, spraying the area with a hailstorm of lead. Bona swings his aim back toward Corvo, but he's already clicked empty. In the heat of the moment, Alisa saves Chris's life, and the two manage to flee the scene just in time. Moments later, Vincent and his army arrive, but they are too late. All they find is a house of horrors, a graveyard of bodies, each taken out with surgical one-hit lethality. On the security monitors in Bona's office, Vincent sees Corvo's face. The shadows of the past come rushing back, and he realizes that rescuing his daughter has just become an almost impossible mission. Meanwhile, having narrowly escaped, Chris tries to open up to Alisa about her mother. But the moment the conversation shifts to Vincent, they're at each other's throats again. Alisa remains steadfast, refusing to believe Vincent had anything to do with her mother's death. Even when Chris reveals that his 18-year prison sentence was Vincent's handiwork, she accuses him of lying. Chris knows that words aren't enough to make her see the truth. He needs cold, hard evidence. But Alisa is still curious about what's really going on. Chris recounts their history. He, Anna, and Vincent were once a tight-knit crew. He and Anna were lovers, and the three of them were a perfect team, robbing banks and pulling off high-stakes heists without ever slipping up. But when they found out Anna was pregnant with Alisa, Chris panicked. They had squandered their earnings and had no savings for a future. They agreed on one final score before retiring for good. The heist went perfectly, yielding enough money to last a lifetime. But at the last second, Vincent intentionally left a trail for the police. Chris was sold out, captured, and sentenced to 15 years in prison. From the look in Chris's eyes, Alisa has a terrifying feeling that it's all true. Determined to keep Alisa safe, Chris steals a car by the roadside, planning to send her to his sister's place in the States to hide out. He admits the lifestyle won't be glamorous, but she'll be alive. Alisa rejects the idea instantly. She has her school, her friends, and her dreams here. Plus, she insists Vincent has always been good to her. She refuses to leave. Chris stares at her, speechless and gripped by worry. Just then, the car's owner returns. Ignoring Chris's warnings, Alisa jumps out of the car. While Chris is busy brandishing his gun to drive the owner away, Alisa seizes the chance to hop into the driver's seat. Before Chris can react, she slams the gas and peels away. Suddenly, another car approaches. Chris tries to flag it down, but the driver has no intention of stopping. As Chris dives out of the way, he catches a glimpse of the driver. It's Corvo, and he's hunting. Unaware of the danger, Alisa pulls over down the road, intending to call Vincent to pick her up. She notices a yellow car slowly creeping up behind her, but assumes it's just a passerby. It's only when she catches a clear look at the man behind the wheel that pure terror sets in. She bolts with Corvo stalking right behind her. Alisa runs for her life, desperate to shake Corvo off. Suddenly, she hears Chris shouting her name, and the sound feels like a lifeline. But the moment she catches sight of him, Corvo appears directly behind him like a ghost. 1, 2, 3. Okay, behind your back. Corvo ties Alisa to the car with a rope and then binds Chris as well. He's curious about who this man is, the one who keeps getting in his way. You freak. Who are you? Who are you? This is my father. He's my real father. Hearing this, Corvo says flatly, so, you're Anna's man. When Chris finally comes to, he is hanging from a massive banyan tree in front of a church. It isn't long before Vincent arrives, clearly tipped off by Corvo. Once, these two were brothers in arms. Now they are enemies who want nothing more than to grind each other's bones to dust. Vincent's first instinct is to execute Chris right there. In his eyes, Chris is the only thing standing between him and his relationship with Alisa. But on second thought, he realizes Chris might still be useful. So he orders his men to cut him down. On the drive back, Vincent receives a call from Corvo. The message is chilling. Meet me where you cut off my arm. Your daughter is here. On the way, Chris confronts Vincent. Why did you betray me all those years ago? Vincent doesn't hold back. Because you took Anna. It turns out Vincent had always been in love with her. And to have her for himself, he chose to destroy Chris. Soon, they arrive at the rendezvous point. Vincent splits his men into 3 squads to sweep the area while Chris slips toward the abandoned factory alone. However, Vincent's men are no match for a professional predator. After a few muffled screams, the forest goes silent. Just as he lowers the body, Corvo's blade is at his throat. Corvo marches Vincent through the desolate paths until they find Alisa, who is being held captive. The reunion is frantic, but Vincent's blood runs cold when he sees the iron chain welded to Alisa's wrist and a razor-sharp saw hanging nearby. Corvo flips a switch, and the chain begins to tighten slowly. Alisa's screams draw Chris's attention. Meanwhile, Vincent rushes to the top of the conveyor belt, trying to shut down the machinery. As he gets closer, he realizes with horror that the belt leads directly into a massive industrial shredder. He frantically mashes every button on the console, but nothing responds. The machine keeps grinding forward. He tries to jam the gears with a metal rod, but it's useless. In a moment of pure desperation, he picks up the saw, intending to cut off his daughter's hand to save her life. But after several agonizing attempts, he simply cannot bring himself to do it. On the other side of the factory, suddenly, Corvo shifts targets, seizing Vincent and pressing a jagged blade against his throat. The sickening truth finally spills out. Years ago, consumed by bitterness because Anna didn't love him back, Vincent had ordered his brother, Corvo, to kill her. To cover his tracks, Vincent then tried to eliminate Corvo, but only managed to hack off his arm. Since then, Vincent had projected his twisted obsession with Anna onto Alisa, playing the role of the doting father to hide his monstrous crime. Vincent's confession adds a layer of cold despair to Alisa's terror. Stop the diamonds. Seeing his plan falter, a blinded Corvo rages. He knocks Vincent aside and grabs Alisa, intending to shove her into the terrifying machine with his bare hands. Looking at Chris, battered, bloodied, yet still reaching for her, Alisa finally breaks. She opens her heart to him, pouring out the emotions she's been holding back. In this moment, she realizes that this man has sacrificed everything and stared down death just to bring her home. The story concludes at a quiet cemetery where Chris and Alisa stand before her mother's grave to pay their respects. Though Chris was critically injured, he survived by a miracle, as if fate itself couldn't bear to separate the father and daughter so soon after their reunion. From here on, they will lean on each other to start a new peaceful life. As the camera pans back to the derelict factory, only the cold, lifeless body of Vincent remains on the floor. This has been Storysphere. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more incredible movie recaps. The movie ends here.